I'm too old for this shit.
Mm-hmm.
We are live, boys. We are live.
We won. We won, guys. We're in the final, yeah. Cal, my brother. Cal.
Oh, God, I hate Vunipola with a passion. He is arguably the worst rugby player I've ever seen. Ugh.
Okay, guys. Hello and welcome back to Forever Rugby here on Forever Sports, guys. This is a review show, and oh my goodness, wow, what an absolutely incredible game of rugby to have watched. Thank you so much for all joining us for that. If you are just tuning in now, oh man, we've had an absolutely incredible time over here. As Springbok supporters, it's been tough to watch. But I am joined, of course, by Ruud, Wes, and Carl Usher. Carl, let's start with you, buddy. My absolute sympathies, because that was one hell of an England performance. They should be very, very proud of everything that they achieved there. But heartbreaking nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been on the end of these losses before, but I'm not that upset about this. I know, like, there are so many like points in that game where I'm just like, okay, that didn't have to happen, and it's exactly the player who I said was awful. But again, I didn't expect them to get this far. So the fact that they almost beat the world champions, who we shouldn't even be playing in a semi, fair. You know, good on them. They played a bloody good game.
I mean, it was an incredible game, and they can really do themselves proud. But boys, the Booker fans are in the house, and it was amazing. Roots, in your words, to use your words, sensational way to finish that game off.
Simply sensational from the Springboks. My emotions are a little bit all over the place. But in terms of the performance, obviously, I think the short turnaround, we don't want to make excuses, but had definitely an effect on our impotence, or our potency, should I say, in this game. But the fact that the slow poison, as they call it, came through and really put us on the edge of our seats, that last scrum, everything, they can't keep doing this to us. But I really appreciate Rassie and every single Springbok supporter who's been supporting this game, and the players. It's just too much, but exciting and hopeful as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And I mean, we just got a couple of comments here. There are so many. Bernice April says that was epic, nerve-wracking. Another one, Charlton Andrews says, Donkey Booker. Dumisani Gomez says, we're bringing the trophy back home. We'll get to that in a second, Dumisani, but let's not jump the gun just yet. Andre says, again, an unfortunate thing that has to be asked, but that ref blew the game to pieces. Yeah, look, I've got some views on it. We'll get into it in a second for sure. Evan H says, this one, the big one, I think they dropped Liebach now for the final and added forward to the bench. It's going to be the talking point, because unfortunately, Handré Pollard came right in that second half and was absolutely phenomenal. A huge call to replace him in the first half, of course, and bring on Pollard. You got to feel for Mani, but the general Handré Pollard coming to the fore and doing the job there for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, as I said at halftime, I think it was the right call to bring Pollard on. And again, I really hope Mani doesn't. It's difficult not to take it too personally, but But what you need is someone in that situation, is someone who's been there before. And Pollard's done the dirty work. He's been there. And then to come right with that massive kick towards the end under enormous pressure, you know, the kick that basically, the kick that sealed it for the box, you know, you don't want to leave that up to chance. Where I know there's still a possibility that Pollard misses it, but it's less of a possibility. So no, I mean, yeah, absolutely huge shift from Andre Pollard. I'm just a bit speechless, really, trying to process it all at the moment still.
Carl, let's have a word from you on your side there, because obviously we talking about Andre Pollard, we talking about the box, and of course it's such an amazing thing to have you on with us. And to be honest, I wasn't sure you'd show up on the show today after that, and I wouldn't have blamed you, to be honest. But there are a couple of aspects, if you would like to pick out. What were the defining moments for you in that performance from both sides?
Look, I mean, obviously you're going to get a lot of people saying, "Oh, you know, the ref was awful," but let's be clear, he was terrible both ways. Okay, so I'm not going to say we should have won the game, because our scrum fell apart, and it absolutely did. And Oxenshire was the only player I was genuinely scared of on your bench, and look what happened. I think
I've got to see who was man of the match, but in my books,
I think for me
changed the entire course of the game.
For me, there are quite a few standouts from that England team, and in a nice way, they were actually most of them were players where I was like, yeah, they shouldn't be starting. I thought Elliot Daly was very good. Freddie Stewart had arguably the best game of his life. Ben Earl, massive again. But my biggest and everlasting frustration will just be the sea anemone that is Billy Vunipola, and the fact that he flops around like oh my God, I can't. He's just the most ludicrous choice to put in your team.
Yeah,
does nothing.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, guys, let's actually just get straight into it. Thank you so much for joining. There are still 3,000 people watching us at the moment, which is amazing. What we are going to do is we are going to bring up our Forever Sports website, where we have an ability for you to go and rate the players. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull up that screen, and as a panel, and as well as the community that are in the chat, we are going to rate the players, basically. And in that way, we will also be, of course, having a little chat of their performance. So, Roots, let's start off right at the front, right? Because the starting lineup seemed to have struggled a little bit. But Joe Marler and Stephen Kitzel, in my view, Roots, I think that Joe Marler probably had one of the better games he's ever had. He was very solid at a set piece time. What are you thinking is a decent rating for him?
So for me, I think England definitely got the ascendancy. You got me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Drew. Maybe a bit of a lag.
A little bit of a lag there, Roots, but you can continue on if you can hear us, and then just give us your thoughts there on Joe Marler.
Yes, my brothers. Yeah, so for me, I think England got the ascendancy initially, especially in terms of the scrum. We didn't with Kitsoff and Malherbe, we didn't gain any traction. So I guess the plan all along was for the Springbok bench to come off, and by that time England would also need to make subs as well as be worn out. But for the most part, England rocked up, and I was the first one, and I'll be the first one to admit that I thought the Springboks would blow them out the water in terms of the forwards, and especially up front. I think I'm not sure there'll be many changes in terms of the starting three, but I think for sure England showed up. So they have to be given credit for not allowing the Springboks to have total domination.
100%. So, Roots, if you were to give Joe a rating out of 10, what would it be?
Joe Marler, for the most part, I know he's quite an entertainer, but I think definite 8 out of 10 in terms of his playing ability on the day. I think he was quite a bit more levels up than what we used to see, and they needed that, England, and I think he delivered. So I think maybe perhaps 8 out of 10, yeah.
8 out of 10 there, 100%. Wes, we'll head back over to you for his counterpart in Steven Kitsoff. I thought Kitsi was, he hasn't quite looked up to his old self anymore. He hasn't quite got that ascendancy at scrum time that we're used to, but still got through a decent amount of defensive work around the park. What do you think is a decent rating for him? What did you think of his performance today?
Yeah, I thought, look, tightened up things after last week, giving away so many penalties. And I don't think he gave away a single penalty today, albeit, that being said, I don't think he was trying as much as he was last week. He was really going for those balls, trying to poach them last week, whereas here this week didn't really see much of that. But I reckon, for me, he's sitting at about a 6. It wasn't anything spectacular. As you said, did his job at scrum time, but not really dominant. So Kitsi for me is probably about a 6. Might be a bit harsh, but that's
probably about a 6. Guys, if you are in the chat there, please do also let us know your thoughts. What would you give these players a rating out of 10, and give us a little bit of insight as to why you say so. I think a 6 for Stevie Kitsoff is about right. I actually sort of ventured down towards possibly even a 5, just because it really didn't seem to be much impact there. So we see already average user score 4.6. So certainly a lot of votes coming in for him, indicating that guys were not happy with his performance. All right, so as we move on a little bit further, then of course, Carl, I will give you Bongi Bonambi actually, and then we'll give someone else another English player.
Damn you!
I thought that Bongi was okay. A couple of very dodgy lineouts, unfortunately, which for me has solidly brought this rating down. I think there was a combination of some really bad calls from that entire forward pack, what they decided to do around, especially in wet weather. Some really weird plays going on there. But with that in mind, what do you think is a fair shot there?
Yeah, I think you're right. Although I definitely argue that they both were rather horrendous with their line-out throws. For Bongi, I mean, funny enough, I actually thinking about the game, didn't really see him carry much. I didn't notice much from him. So I would say 5, to be honest.
5. I see Powerbite92 saying 4 out of 10. And frankly, I would probably actually agree with them, but we'll do what Carl says here, and we've got a 5 out of 10 coming up, and it's not the average user score is there. Just remember, guys, this is on the Forever Rugby. That's forever-rugby.com. You can go find these player ratings there and do this exercise yourself. Average user score again 4.2. Okay, so let's move on to the other side again. Where's Jamie George? Looked particularly good at line-out time. On the other hand, he seemed to do relatively well until there were a couple of somehow something got into Sarah.
Reza, no, stop talking absolute shite here now. Stop talking about Jamie George.
Thank you.
No,
look, it started off well.
Enough of this nonsense now. He fair enough. He did start well, but then I think there was that atrocious throw. I mean, we saw the Jalibert kick going backwards, and then there was the Jamie George throw going. Who knows where that was going? But I think before that,
I said he started well. Let's relax. I said he started well.
So, yeah, I think he was also having problems before that throw. Again, he was around the park, but largely ineffective. So I'm also going for about a 5 for Jamie George. I don't think it was anything too impressive.
5 for Jamie George. Just remember, guys, that the link for this is also in the description of this video. So if you want to go and join along with our little game here and follow along, that's where you'll find it. Excuse me. I'd just like to share a quick comment. Thank you so much to Babak Bagheri with a fantastic little donation there. Thank you very, very much. Double congratulations to SA for beating England in both cricket and rugby. Too bad Bafana didn't play the 3 lines to make a hat-trick. Listen, I don't think we'll ever see that in my lifetime, but if we do, I think that maybe Cheslin Colby and Billy Ruru could probably put a good shot in to be part of that Bafana team, to be very honest.
Look at Oxford.
Yeah, 100%. Francois Herber and Dan Cole, let's give you both of those guys. What did you think of their performances, and what would you give them a rating out of 10?
So again, for me, with England, I think specifically the tight forwards, unless it's Genj coming off the bench. They have specific roles in terms of not so much carrying, but doing the basics. And I think in terms of showing up in that first half, I'm going to give a 7 to Dan Cole and a 6 to Frans Malherbe. I don't think France had a particularly bad game. I just think for the sake of that time period, it was a real tussle. And what we perhaps expected from Malherbe, he had a bit of a difficult time in comparison. So 7-6.
7-6. So that's a 7 for France and a 6 for Dan Cole. Is that correct?
No, other way around.
Sorry, a
Other way
6 for France.
My bad. Sorry, I accidentally put a wrong score in there. And a 7 for Dan Cole. I think that's absolutely fair. I've just shared this comment here from Stanford Near. It says, please say something about Springboks not losing the faith. The whole Springbok team came to the party in the last 5 minutes of the game. This last penalty took me back to Joel Stransky on Newlands. Yeah, boys, I think that's, look, I mean, we are absolutely going to get into this a little later on, but I certainly lost faith at a point.
Can we be honest? I was the only person who didn't lose faith in South Africa, and I wasn't even supporting them.
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure.
English and self-deprecating, so that's just part of the.
Was I wrong?
It was actually very annoying, Cole, because we are in our group chat and you just going on and on about how England are going to bottle this, and we're saying to you, what are you talking about? That looks like they 100% but I guess your visualization came into it. But
I hate being
Reece,
right.
can I say a quick word before we move on from the front row there? Just I think you've got to credit the English front row. Okay, Jamie George, he's throwing not the best, but if you think back to 4 years ago and how they got absolutely dominated, in that final, and for these guys to come back and to, I mean, I don't think they gave a single scrum penalty away in the first half. And you saw when Dan Cole went off, Joe Marler was right there to sort of hug him. They did their job and more. So I think, my hat off to that English starting front row. I thought they were up for the task and they didn't let the box get an inch. So hats off to them.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna actually say that's probably nonsense. I think that the only reason they could even stand a chance is because Tendai Taurira decided to retire. So,
yeah, but you can say that about any other prop ever. Let's be honest. But you got to admit, Marler retired, Dan Cole was out of the team for over 2 years. They've both come back in and had the best games of their lives in an England shirt, and couldn't have done they didn't put a foot wrong. And these are two players where I'm like, they are so slow that we're going to get absolutely run ragged, and they played amazingly. I'm so happy with both of them. It was great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To move on then to that lock pairing, of course, Wes, I'll give you this one. The Moro Tojo Yebin Etzebeth matchup was particularly fascinating going into this, but not one that we really expected to be so downplayed going into it. I think that if I was calling the shots here, I would say that Moro Tojo certainly had the better of Eben in this game, and it showed the fact that Eben was pulled off quite early. Would you agree with that? And what's the rating that you'd end up giving them?
Yeah, I think if you look at their performances, I think Itoji did have the better performance of the two. I thought Etzebeth, carried decently, some strong positive carries, some neutral carries. I don't think he got driven backwards. But that was really all we saw of him. There wasn't really this enforcer presence on the field. Itoji, though, was carrying well. He was disrupting ruck ball. He was ripping ball from players running in. So, I think he definitely won that little matchup. There wasn't necessarily too much head-on-head between the two players, but in their own respective rights, I think Itoji comes away the winner. So, I think, again, for Etzebeth, probably about a 6, and Itoji gets a 7.
I think that's generous. I mean, I don't know what you boys think, Ruse. Do you agree with that?
But what did he do badly? What did Etzebeth do wrong?
I think 6 is right. He was average.
Yeah, I'm with Wes on that one.
I think 6 is fair.
I think we were expecting a 9, and he just didn't have any gas left. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. I'll throw it out to the comments as well.
Reza. Sorry, man.
I seem to be alone in this, but I personally, I think that Eben probably had one of his worst games in the Springbok jersey in a very,
but
long
again,
time.
I think it's all fair enough, but I think it's relative, right? It's coming off the back like performances where it's been outstanding, and so that's really difficult, right? We know what's possible, but if we look at this in isolation, yeah, I think Etzebeth was an average performance. He didn't really do much wrong, but he didn't do much like fantastically. So let's see what the Forever Sports community says. If we go for a 6 for Eben, let's see what they go. Am I going to be justified, or am I going to be completely wrong here?
All right, well, we'll have a look and see. A 6 then for Eben Etzebeth. Average user score 4.6.
Damn.
Yeah, look.
Yes, but we also know that Bok fans are notoriously harsh.
Yeah.
Well, or we're just right. Yeah.
No,
I don't think he was that bad. Like the thing is, like when you consistently pull out 8 and 9 performances, an average game is a 6, because you know, even a terrible game, you still end up doing something. I don't think he was bad.
Oh, well, you know, because I'm in control of this, I could pull up the comments. But Wayne Mulabutsi says 4 for Eben. Thank you, Wayne. I'm glad we're on the same page there. Not that it's a competition or anything. No one wants to give bad ratings to players, but this time, in my opinion, was warranted. Mario total at the end,
Yeah, across to Mario, I'm thinking like, you know, 7 or 8 then. You know, I think, again, I don't think he did much wrong either. I thought he was more present on the field. So, yeah, I'm sitting between a 7 and an 8, and I'll let you choose there, Reese, between those two.
I'd say 8 for Mario. He was really good.
I'd say 8 as well. Yeah, I'm leaning towards it.
Yeah.
Average user score 7.5.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Right down the middle there. I think I'll take this one as well. Franco Mostert's, sure. I was not impressed again with that entire forward unit, especially in that first half. As the leaders and 2 of the most experienced players in their lock pairing in Mostert and Eben, they obviously calling the shots there on what they're supposed to do at line-out time. They've come up against that lock pairing of England enough times to know that they are very good at disruption, and to go with a couple of calls that they made, I was not impressed, and I think that they needed to show a little bit more leadership. So same thing for Franco. I think that he maybe got stuck into the rucks quite a bit. His defensive work was always on point as usual. My opinion is that's probably about a 5. Yeah, guys, what do you think about that?
Yeah, 5, 6.
I agree with you. I think Franco's an engine in the team. He's an engine. I just think for the most part there were 1 or 2 little instances where he perhaps spilt the ball or didn't make too many post-contact meters. But again, I think that's a fair assessment, Reza. Okay,
100%. Then 5 it is for Franco Mostert. Let's see if the community agrees with us. Average score 5.5. All right, just off then. And then, Carl, I'll give this one to you again. George Martin.
Just so you know, Steve's now going to cut you for not rating Franco Mostert.
That's okay.
To be honest, in that first half, George Martin was my man of the match. He was so good, and he did exactly what England needed him to do. Fully justified his replacement of Chesham. And in the second half, it became a lot more of a tussle, whereas we didn't have the ascendancy anymore, and it became a bit of a bun fight. That's the best game I've seen from him. I would argue he was better than Maro, so I would say 8.5.
Wow, 8.5. I can't give an 8.5.
Put 8. If we won, I would say 9, but
6.7. Yeah, I think maybe you're a little bit generous there on George Martin. It was one of his better games, but yeah. Okay, 6.7 it is. Captain Fantastic, Sia Khaleesi. Wes, what did you think of that? I mean, Sia got pulled off relatively early, but we've become accustomed to that at this point. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think quite a quiet game from the captain. I think we sort of just see his efforts. He's in the background. He's kind of like a Mostert player in some regard, like just doing the dirty work and doing well. But then every now and then there's at least 2 or 3 strong carries from Sia, or he's involved in this try setup. There's some silky hands, or he makes a great tackle, and we just didn't quite see that from Captain Fantastic tonight. So, yeah, I think also quite an average performance from him. I don't think he did much wrong. Again, I can't think of anything where I thought, oh, that was truly terrible. You know, if we start to compare captains, and we'll get to Farrell in a bit, but if we start to compare, obviously, the conversations with the ref and everything, you know, Sia was much better in that regard. But yeah, if we're being honest, and I see some comments here in the chat saying, look, we need to stop criticizing the players, but this is literally what it's about, right? And it's not coming from a place of negativity or malice. It's just about, like, you know, an honest reflection of, again, our opinions of where we think the boys are, like, and what they
Well,
can
the
do
honest
to be
truth is
better.
that if we were giving all these players 10 out of 10, we would have won by 50 points.
Yeah, exactly. So, but to wrap up my long spiel, then, yeah, I think Sia probably said about a 6, to be honest. Again, nothing really wrong, nothing
That's
really
fair.
right. So that's probably where I'm at for Sia.
I think that's fair. Rude's Courtney Laws, I thought he was phenomenal today. Just by the way, I thought he was great.
The lag's just killing me.
It's okay, you'll hear us in a second, apparently. All right, just in case Roots can't hear us, we'll hand that back over to you then, Carl. Just let us know what you thought about Courtney Laws then.
I think this is probably his game of the World Cup. He played really, really well. His takes off the kickoffs were, you know, perfect. He did exactly what we needed him to do. Yeah, I don't really have anything bad to say about his game. He almost played as if it was almost a captain's run from him. But at the same time, there are periods of the game where I just don't remember seeing him, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because I know he can. He just does go about his work, and he's fairly similar to Khaleesi. Sometimes you just don't see Khaleesi, but he's there doing, like, making the hard yards. And yeah, I was really happy with how he played. And this is the thing is, like, even though we lost, like, there's only 1 or 2 players that for England where I'd be like, yeah, little things that you did cost us that match. The rest of them, it was the best performance I could have hoped for from England. So
Okay.
I would say Courtney again 8.
Courtney again 8. I mean, I think that our ratings so far really show the dominance that England had, particularly in the forwards in that first half. I mean, they were all great, and unfortunately, this is a reflection of the game and how it started off and went. See, average user score there, 6.2. I already seen some comments. I can't remember who it was. It said that PTSD was phenomenal around the park. Yeah, he put in some really hard graft today. The man works hard every single time, and I thought there was some really good ball carries out there. He got stuck into all the rucks. His defensive work was phenomenal. I thought that he was incredible around the park. If you are in the chat, please do go check the player ratings. Tell me if you agree with us. Go do the ratings yourself and see how you stack up against what everyone else thinks. But if I was to go for a rating for Pieter-Steph du Toit, I think that of that starting lineup, he was my only 8. What do you think, boys? Do you think you agree with that?
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yo.
Sure. That's tough, guys.
Enter.
That's tough.
Yeah.
5.8. That's real tough for the boy. But anyway, real tough, gents. But yeah, if you were one of those persons that voted for Pieter-Steph du Toit to be solo, please don't let me know. Yeah. Right. So Roots, Tom Currie, if you can hear me, Roots, give me a little wave or something. Fantastic. Tom Currie came off at a point, actually. His nose was bleeding. He was all over the place, battered and bruised. Yeah, it seemed also a bit of a nothing game for him, in my opinion. It was one of his better ones, but I thought maybe pretty average, maybe like a 6, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think looking at the time when he came off from the field, he looked like he was in a serious battle. And although he didn't have the medals, I suppose, to have over his shoulders to say that he really had a major impact on the game. I think he also grafted very hard, but I think in and amongst the England forwards, maybe he got a little bit lost, but then again, he also made a lot of tackles. So I think for the most part, I'd go 6.5 if I could, but I'm going to lean towards a 6 for Tom Currie. Yeah,
6 for Tom Currie. And Carl, I'll let you take this one because you've been singing Ben All's praises, and admittedly, he was phenomenal. He was probably the only man with a genuine sidestep on the field today.
Oh God, the man's got he would fit in with Currie and Cheslin in one of those boxes. No, he's been certainly the player I've just enjoyed watching the most in this World Cup for England. Again, massive tonight, absolutely huge in that first half. I think just to comment on Currie, I think you can actually see a lot about the impact him not being on the field had on the game, because replaced like by Vunipola and England fall to shit. So I think Currie actually had a decent game behind the scenes, but anyway, no, Benel was absolutely massive again, and he is bloody fast. He broke the line a couple times.
He's awesome.
Honestly, he has more of an attacking threat than most of our backline, which is depressing, but it does fit our gameplay. So, but yeah, I mean, just on his performance, I would honestly give him a 9.
100%.
Yeah, I'd give him a 9.
Let's check it out. Oh, wow.
Come on.
Jeez. Oh, well, I mean,
The thing is, you got half the chat saying England were robbed by a shite referee, and that South Africa played badly because of a bad referee. So I think the ref was terrible both ways.
100%. Okay, well, guys, either way, Easy Ollie saying your little wingers can't win high balls either. Yeah, well, apparently they didn't need to, Easy Ollie. So, you know, made a tomato at the end of the day.
Made it harder for you, but yes.
Yeah. And one player we never like to criticize was Dwayne Vermeulen.
Yeah. Again, just sort of there seems to be a general category in that first starting 8 of the South African forwards, which is pretty much everyone kind of bar Peter Steff, which was, you know, not necessarily anything wrong, but just not really much right or like fantastic. And so again, I thought Dwayne didn't muck up too much. There was, you know, he also struggled under the high ball. I think he had 1 or 2 knocks, you know, and so maybe a few errors there. Didn't really see much of him carrying again. Again, I could be wrong, but I just didn't feel like there were many dominant sort of carries from the box in that first half and when he was on the pitch. So, yeah, I think, you know, I was going to put him at a 6, but then if I think about it, well, you know, it probably had a few knocks and errors that way. So it probably drops him to a 5 for me, you know, and that's not, I don't feel good rating Dwayne 5, but, you know, that's where I think he probably was tonight.
5.8, so you're about in the ballpark.
How do you rate Ben Earl and Dwayne Vermeulen around the same?
This is certainly a bit of a mind boggle. But anyway, we move.
Oh, that should be beautiful.
Yeah, and it was actually a style of 2 very similar scrum halves, both with a lot of box kicking, a lot of game management that was put on both of them. One certainly did it better than the other one, though. Roots, wouldn't you agree? And if I'm not going to tell you which one I think it was, but out of the 2, Alex Mitchell and Kobus Reinach, who do you think was the better one, and what was the rating you'd give them?
So for me, obviously, I'm going to pair Kobus Reinach up with Manie Libbok. I'm not going to get to Libbok because we'll get there in a minute. But Kobus Reinach for me, pretty average in the time that he was on the park. I don't think he was in good communication, perhaps with the kick chasers quite as well as he would have been. And then on the contrast, Alex Mitchell for England just seemed to understand the chasers well. The timing was good. But at the same time, just to mention, he also had a very wonderful platform in terms of the time that he spent with the ball at the ruck time, which was, I felt, a little bit long. So maybe he had a little bit more time to think, where Kobus Reinach didn't make use of.
Okay, and if you were to give him, if you were then,
yes,
to give
Alex
him
Mitchell perhaps. Kobus Reinach actually for me would be a.
So what do you think? So what do you think their routes at the end of the day? Obviously, Alex Mitchell, and I would agree with you, certainly came out tops. I think that his reading of the game and his management, his ability to slow it down, even though we didn't like it, was phenomenal. So, Alex Mitchell, what's the rating? Roots? Yeah.
Abus Reinach, unfortunately, I'm giving him a 4.
Quibus. Fair.
Chris is going to be mad at that one. I'll tell you that one for sure. Yeah,
Because he
Shani
was
was so
starting in the wrong
happy.
position. He's meant
He
to be
was
a
so
10.
happy to see 4.7. Chris was so happy to see Quibus in that starting lineup, but unfortunately, his returns have not been fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised, to be very honest, to see Fluff de Klerk make a return for the final. Right, and then Alex Mitchell Roos.
8 out of 10, I would say. Like he did have more time. That's a bit debatable with regards to the use at 5-second rule, but for the most part, I think he played an 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a pretty harsh score there from all.
I would have said 7.
Yeah, I think 7 maybe a bit more accurate, but yeah, certainly 6.1 a bit harsh, I think. Right, guys, you are in the chat there. Please do go check the description of the video. You can find the link to this rating on our website, and you can do this in real time with us. Let us know what your thoughts are. We'll be able to see exactly what you guys are voting for as well. Okay, so where's the big debate? Of course, Owen Farrell and Manie Libbok. Manie only got, 30-odd minutes? And
33.
33 minutes, and immediately pulled off. It's very hard to rate a performance in that time, but nevertheless, we're going to have to do it.
Yeah, 6. Again, I said it at halftime. I don't think he was particularly the sole reason that the Boks weren't going forward or weren't. There was a lot of issues that he was having to deal with. So I think it was just the call to get Pollard on, that cool, calm head, the experienced head, kind of calmed things down. And I don't think you could fault Manie for not having played in the previous World Cup. But I don't think he did much wrong again. I think there was maybe a couple kicks that weren't exactly the best, but yeah, I think in the minutes he was given, he did an okay job, and that's kind of what everyone else was doing, an okay job, and then the subs came on and had an impact. So yeah, Manie gets a 6 from me. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's 4.4 from the community.
I would have said 5.
Yeah, but yeah,
tough times. Yeah,
so,
I think 5.
I
think 5 is probably. Yeah, I think it was really harsh. I think that Pollard just brought something different that the management identified needed to be in the game. And as you said, he wasn't the reason that first half performance was so bad. On the counter there, where's Owen Farrell?
No, I mean, the man is his own worst enemy. I'm sure Cal's going to want to get in here, and I'm sure we all want to get in here, and I'll just keep it brief. But, some really good moments. I thought he had some excellent kicks, through and territory finders, little stabs through and putting South Africa under pressure. And then he had his drop goal, which was phenomenal, and he kicked for posts well. And so it was like a good performance from Owen Farrell. And then he just couldn't shut up. He just couldn't help himself, and just made everyone hate him even more, including the ref. So, you just think as a captain and just baffled, really. And I was clapping every time he wanted to start chatting to Ben O'Keefe. But really difficult, because if you do the Deadpool thing, right, in that terrible Wolverine Origins movie, and you sew up his mouth shut so he can't talk, I reckon Farrell gets 8 from me. Do you know what I mean? Like an 8, 9. I thought he had a good rugby performance.
Hey, I thought he was actually phenomenal in terms of rugby play. As you said, the couple of things that he did. One, of course, he put that kick in range by opening his mouth and giving us that opportunity, and then his management around the refs is just so poor. I think it drops him at least a point or two. Carl, I'm sure you'd want to get in here.
No, so
yeah. So obviously, I was getting very, very annoyed by how he's such a gobby little bastard sometimes. But yeah, as Wes was saying, just a captain's run. I don't like Farrell particularly because of many reasons, but his gameplay today was arguably his best game in the last 2 years. He was really, really good. And I just wish he'd shut up. Oh my God.
No, we all wish he'd shut up. I mean, we've
but I do understand. When he was back chatting, I understood why. But And it was funny when Jamie George had to come and be like, dude, he's not going to turn the penalty round. Just piss off.
Well, Marchant also had to grab his own captain away and tell him to walk it back.
And he was fired up, but yeah,
ridiculous. I mean, but at the same time, how in the world did management ever get to the point where they're like, Owen Farrell should be captain? I mean, the man can't handle himself. His emotions are all over the place. And it's like, well, fine, do that, but then do it from a position of, not being captain.
I would generally agree with you, but every player who's ever been in a team with him has said this guy is unbelievable. He is the perfect leader. So, and that's, a lot closer than us watching a game and being like, yeah, he looks like a knob. So as much as I don't particularly like him, I would take the player's word on that. I mean, even if you've got people like Johnny Sexton saying that, it's coming from pretty high up. And we know how.
Well, of course, Johnny Sexton said that about Owen Farrell. They're basically the same person.
You're not wrong there. I was about to say he's about as lippy himself, but no, I mean, look, he has to be a good captain. I mean, England got to a semi when they had no right to be there. If they had honestly a terrible captain, which they wouldn't have because they got Laws, that would have been pretty much game over it from the start with the performances they were putting in the warm-up games. But as an actual performance, rugby-wise, he was, for what he did, he was fairly flawless.
Okay. So between the two of you, both of you, Wes, you go first. What rating would you give Owen Farrell?
So as I said, if he didn't speak, I'm looking at like an 8 or a 9, but I think he lost his cool, mouth to the ref, penalties, this, that, the next. So I think that drops to a 7 for me.
Carl?
Yeah, I'd say 7. And considering how much the fan community are getting are tongue lashing the ref, you can understand why Farrell was getting pissed as well. He was right in front of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we're not far off from the community score. You have 6.6. Okay, guys. Of course, we move on then. Roots, we see Elliot Daly and Cheslin Colby. A bit of a quiet day at the office for old Chesy, but every time that he did get the ball, he certainly ran with a lot of conviction. Elliot Daly, also not a lot to do, unfortunately, but what he did do, he did exceptionally well. It seems that their main point the main point that they kind of were hoping to dominate in, which they did, is that high ball. And Elliot Daly, along with Freddie Stewart and Johnny May, were putting a hell of a lot of pressure on us in that department. And Chesy, on a couple of occasions under the high ball as well, wasn't quite matching up too well.
Yeah. So for me, between Elliot Daly and Cheslin Colby, I think the margins are quite small. Both had limited opportunities. But England at the same time, especially in that first half, were just winning a bit of that aerial battle. At the same time, Cheslin Colby,
they won the whole thing.
Pretty much, yeah. Cheslin Colby was the ray of sunshine in terms of one of the few backs in our team that actually did contest. And when he did get an opportunity, he did make a few meters. So it's hard to judge this one. So I'm not going to go anything other than perhaps a 7 both ways. I don't want to say there was Elliot Daly was dominant in terms of his opposite number. I think they're pretty much on par.
Okay, 7 both ways. I think that's probably a bit generous for both of them.
I actually, as a person who's been saying Elliot Daly's rubbish for about 4 years now, I totally disagree with that. Elliot Daly was a monster under the high ball. Yeah, he tapped back almost everything he chased.
I thought he was really good.
He was exceptionally good. And obviously, he didn't have many chances ball in hand, but none of the team did. It wasn't the game plan. You rate them on the game plan they played. He played it perfectly.
I would agree with you. I think that certainly what they were asked to do today, he did it immensely.
Yeah.
As we said, Chesy not with a lot of opportunity with ball in hand. One great opportunity they created for Varsity with ball in hand, but other than that, and then he ran straight into Johnny May and got clattered a little bit. But yeah.
Oh, also, Elliot Daly should be a 9 for the way he smoked Dwayne Vermeulen anyway. Oh my God, that made me stand up.
Yeah. Okay, all right, calm down. Okay, you've just remember, Carl, you've lost. Okay, so let's
I
just tone
don't
down
care.
the
I'm
energy.
happy. I told you. I told you.
Let's just tone down the energy. We've
I
given you a
told you
platform,
I
but
didn't
we
expect us to win, so I'm just happy with the way we played.
just relax, buddy. We're getting to the important part and where the ratings really start to go high for the Boks, especially as we get towards that bench. But Carl, we'll go to Manu Tuilagi and Damian Delendi. This is probably the first time where I can confidently say that I think that Damian well outdid Manu on that front. Manu not with a lot of opportunity in hand, and when Damian did have ball in hand, he did exactly what we've come to expect from both of these players at the moment. Is these barnstorming runs, a lot of go forward, and he was also just immense in defence again. Maybe not the standout performance that we're used to seeing, where he's carried maybe 6-7 times, but of the 3 or 4 that he did have, I think they were really good.
Yeah, I mean, in this style of play, it was never going to be a huge stake for Manu to shine on, and especially against the Boks, whose defense is very, very good. He's not the player he used to be. He would admit that, but he's still very good. But I think in the short time that Ollie Lawrence was on the pitch, you could see that Ollie Lawrence should have played.
Yep,
he was
100%.
far more nimble, offered far more on attack when we had to attack. But definitely him at 12 is where he could only play from now on if he continues after this World Cup.
Okay. And then I see a comment here from Key Buckley and Wes, if you also want to lay into this and Roots. Delendi went backwards all night. I don't know which game you were watching, but no, that's absolutely not the case.
Book an appointment with the optometrist right now. Like, first thing, schedule that email to send at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. On Monday morning, get the optometrist. I don't know, what that person was watching. Sorry. No, he didn't go backwards all night.
I don't think Delendi was particularly great, but I'd say
he made 3 meters in 5.
Yeah, cool. But he definitely didn't go backwards the whole night. He had a few positive runs, mostly maybe neutral. I mean, maybe 1, if 2, if I'm being generous, like on driven back. But that's a nonsense comment. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Carl. So it is your question. So let's go with that Manu Tuilagi rating.
I mean, same with like some of the Boks forwards. An average game, I'd give him a 6, average. And I'd say Delendi the same. I'd put them both at 6, actually.
Okay, both at 6. I should not have given this question to you. Average user score was 6.9. Yeah, I think 7 is probably more the correct answer for Damian there. Manu was really properly ineffective today. I wish they would have used him more, to be honest. But anyway, we get to last week's Wonder Boy, Jesse Creel, and then of course Joe Marchant. Roots, what did you think of Jesse Creel? Do you think that shame, the poor dude, of all the Springbok players, he has played the most minutes? Maybe suffering from a little bit of exhaustion there.
Yeah, I think that definitely exhaustion, as you mentioned. But I think the conditions also adversely affected the ball shifting past Delendi, and that for Creel, he's usually great on defense, and we had to defend for a lot of this game. So I think he also done the basics right, limited opportunities based on the conditions. So for me, I'm going to give him a 4, but it's not to criticize him. I think it's just for the sake of he put in an enormous 200% last week, and he's just perhaps running on a little bit empty. And then his counterpart, Joe Marchant, England, I don't think showed enough on attack for me to make much of him. So I'm going to go 5.
Okay, a 5 there for Joe Marchant. Sorry, was it Joe Marchant? Hey, it was for Joe.
Yeah, 5 for Joe.
5 for Joe. And for Jesse?
I'd say 4.
4.
It wasn't
okay. Well,
so.
maybe a bit of Bok bias there. I thought Jesse was pretty good on defense, but there was a couple of opportunities that he certainly put down that little missed pass. I know the ball was wet, but he seemed it was a great opportunity to swing that ball wide, and especially under advantage. And yeah, it was really, really unfortunate there. Where's Johnny May and Curtly Orange? Now, obviously, we heard from Steve as well in our group chat that KLA, yeah, well, to put it lightly, he said that this is really just one of his worst games. And yeah, would you agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, I thought there was nothing really special from Curtly. Just got caught out of position a couple times tonight. There was that one awkward bounce of the ball, that then knocked on. Like that happens, right? When the conditions are like that and you get a favorable or an unfavorable bounce. But I think, more than that, it was just sort of his positional play and high ball, he struggled. So yeah, I think it was not Curtly's best performance, which, everyone has, and it just unfortunately happened to happen in the Rugby World Cup semi-final against an England team who were finding their stride and played the best rugby that they've played. So yeah, I think Curtly not great, probably sitting at about a 4 or 5 for me tonight, but let's go 4, I think.
All then for Curtly Orange, sir.
To be fair, he did almost get you a try. Oh, was that
almost
that
doesn't cut it. I think 5.8 is also maybe a little bit generous, but on the flip side, of course, we have Johnny May. For me, Johnny May was very similar to the Elliot Daily chat. I mean, those back three, their only job today seemed to be throw it high up in the air and take everything out of the air. And they did it really, really well. Other than that, not much opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Although I'd say Daly was far more effective in that, only because they kicked more to Daly's wing.
Would you agree with that, Wes?
Yeah, no, I agreed. I thought when Johnny May was asked to do something, he did it well. So I think for me personally, he's sitting at like a 7, maybe an 8. Again, like didn't have much opportunity with ball in hand.
I'd say 7.
Yeah, probably 7. Like again, didn't do much, but didn't get much chance. So let's go for a 7 there for Johnny May.
It's locked in the 7 average user score. Yeah, look, guys. The fact that we think that KLA is apparently had a better game than Johnny May is questionable, but that is the community score. We won't judge you on what you choose, and right, we head towards the best, which is what I'm really, really excited about. And of course, we've got Freddie Stewart and Damien Willemse to close us out from here. Carl, Freddie Stewart, you had concerns about how fast that back three was, but Freddie didn't need any pace because he was just epic all round. And he was, of the back three, the one that had ball in hand the most as well, on top of all the high balls that he was putting up and catching.
England certainly found a way to make sure that his defensive, defensive weaknesses speed-wise weren't a factor in this game. And I've never been, while watching that, I've never been so happy to effectively be told to shut up by a player. Freddie Stewart did not put a foot wrong in this game. He caught every single ball, I think, bar one, which was a bit far out of his reach. He made strides through the field. I would put him maybe slightly above Ben Earl as England's man of the match, just because he was so solid.
I would agree with you 100%. So with that in mind, what's the score that you think he deserves?
10.
10 out of 10 for Freddie Stewart.
He didn't do anything wrong. He was pretty perfect.
I must be honest. I think you're not far wrong. I think between 9 and 10, you're absolutely right. He did not put a foot wrong the entire night.
6.8. Oh my God.
Every time.
6.8. That's ridiculous. No, I'm with you. I was also 9. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and then Damien Willemse on the flip side there, Carl. Again, just not a lot of opportunity, but also not a lot wrong.
Well, the thing is that he didn't have much opportunity, but I'd say his one error was a big error, and it put you under massive pressure. And that kind of was very early on. It was an unnecessary offload. He should have taken it to ground and just set the ruck. But instead, I'm pretty sure that led to England's second penalty. And other, like when you haven't had the opportunity, but you haven't done much, you start an average, and then you get taken down from there by big errors you make. So I would give him like 4 or 5.
I'm gonna give him a 5.
Yeah, fair.
Average user score 4.7. Yeah, okay. So I think everyone agrees with you that it wasn't his best. But now we get to the exciting part, Roots. Of course, the game changers, the boys who, not the traditional bomb squad that we've come to know and love, but this reformed bomb squad came on and certainly had more than enough explosiveness. And with that, Dion Fourie and Theo Dan, a special word there for Dion Fourie, Roots.
Absolutely, simply sensational. I think the one moment that he had, the breakaway from the lineout, was really the catalyst for us getting that try, changing the momentum and putting it within those 3 points. So for that, I'm going to give him a 9. I would go 10, but I think for the most part, he did come off the bench. But that 9 is almost a 10 in my heart. So absolutely brilliant stuff from Dion Fourie.
Billy Vunipola says you're welcome.
Billy Vunipola says, yeah. Look, I think Dion Fourie was immense.
He was so good.
The energy that he brought is just incredible. Just lifted everyone up around.
I think Billy Vunipola needs to get to the gym on Monday morning and really get stuck into his conditioning.
No, he needs to retire immediately.
That or alternatively, if he's not ready for that, just get back to the reality
Japan?
of
Go to play in Japan, please.
Still in Japan, yeah.
Just nowhere near England ever again.
Just coming to Theo Dan, I don't think
he didn't get on.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he got on, so I'm going to give him a 0.
Correct, yeah. I mean, again, he didn't get on it.
I feel really sorry for him. I feel really sorry for Theo Dan. Like, he's obviously been told, look, mate, unless there's an injury, you're just not going to play. And
clearly not. Or maybe they thought that Theo Dan not coming on was worthy of a 4.
Well, the thing is, if a player doesn't play, you should give him a 5. Literally didn't do, he's the perfect average because, he just didn't play.
Sure.
He didn't do anything wrong, but he didn't do anything right because he couldn't do anything.
Right, well, I've given him a 1. So.
Fine.
Right, so we move on then. This is the big one for me. Wow, what an impact. I mean, it's almost Lukhanyo Amish.
Unbelievable.
In the impact that he had. I think Lukhanyo called of 2019 and just game-breaking ability that he had. Jeez, what a performance. I mean, to come up there and just smash it. And then to allow as well, again, we had that 22, we called for that scrum. That puts a lot of pressure on a guy like Ox, who admittedly was winning his scrums. But I mean, to say to him, look, right in front of our poles, go and do that again. I mean, and for him to do it and smash it, what an effort.
Yeah, there's not much to say. 10 for Ox. You guys have said, like, yeah, 10 for the man.
10 for Ox. And I think the chat, as I've been reading it throughout this, they certainly agree with that. Everyone has just said that Ox is...
The man ate his cake.
He ate his cake. And he's famously said, of course, that a salad doesn't win you scrums. Or eating salad doesn't win you scrums. But he showed that today. Wow. Really, really impressive.
We shouldn't be surprised considering he does this in the URC. He takes teams to the absolute cleaners.
Yeah, it's disturbing actually, and that's got to shatter the confidence of
Kyle Singleton looked really absolutely helpless.
Oh man, jeez, that guy can't catch a break in World Cup, so really.
It's even more frustrating for me. He started playing rugby at my rugby club in London. He gets knocked out in the 5th minute, and I would argue that derailed England hugely in that final. And he comes on and gets smoked, and it derails England in this semi-final.
Yeah, it's a pity. Ellis Genge, of course, the controversial figure that he is, completely ineffectual in my book.
I wouldn't say completely. He had some runs that were actually decent. but you know, not it wasn't going to change the game. It wasn't. It was something that none of the other props in the game had done, but
Look,
it wasn't the
job,
prop we needed. So
his job was to come on and nullify the effect of our replacements, and he didn't do that. So in my book, I think it's pretty poor. But sorry, it is actually Wes's question. But Wes, a rating there for Ellis Gench?
Yeah, 5. I think I agree with you, Rees, on the fact that he didn't quite do his job at scrum time, and then but I also agree with Cal that he did do some runs and he is mobile and he gets around the park, and defensively he's pretty solid. And I see that the community thinks otherwise with 3.6. I think that might be the lowest score, which is wild. But yeah, I thought he was somewhere in the middle at 5. I thought was fair.
Community rates lower than a player that didn't play. Okay.
CJ Bruce says, I was a peep. Sorry, I'm late. Let's take a breather after that. That's quite a long breather, CJ, but thanks for joining us anyway. Yeah, look, 100%. I can't say enough about Oxfordshire, though. I mean, really, he is the reason this entire game changed around in my book. Without him, I think we lose that. So, yeah, what a performance. Rude's Carl Sinclair and Vincent Koch. Of course, Carl has already said to us a little bit about Carl Sinclair. But your views on the man? A tough day at the office.
Yeah, so for me, he was just unfortunately at the wrong place at the wrong time. And when that pack came on in the second half, I think he was just not able to contend much with them. So I'm giving him a 3 out of 10. And then Vincent Koch, for his part, coming on and being part of that front row that just changed gears, I'm going to give him 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 for Vinny Koch. 100%. Yeah, very good. Very good. There is, you were pretty much bang on average with the community.
I'd say about Sinclair that yes, he was torrid. He had a torrid time in the scrums, but he helped our backline actually get some fluidity. He was doing a lot of helpful out the back passes, which he hasn't done. I'd argue he hasn't done that since that 2019 semi against New Zealand, and he looked a lot more on his feet out of a scrum better than he's been for a long time. But yeah, his scrums were just horrendous.
Yeah, if you want to talk about Carl Sinclair, Keith Buckley says Sinclair probably wishes he got KO'd again so he could forget tonight. Yeah, I feel the same. I think that.
But alcohol can do the same thing, so it's fine.
It's pretty tough time for Carl Sinclair there. Right, we move on then to Ollie Chesham and Arceus Neymar, Carl. I'll give this one to you. You can do Ollie. I'll do Arceus.
I thought he had a decent impact off the bench. But again, he came on for George Martin, and I thought Martin was having a really good game. But you know, not enough to really cause a swing in the game. So while he didn't do anything wrong, I would give him about an average of 6. Yes, I'd say 6.
6 there.
People hate.
Look, the English are terrible. What can we say? Yeah.
For once, I can't say that. Okay, it's annoying me.
Arceus Neymar, I thought, was
huge,
immense. He came on, stabilized the lineup that was really doing not so great. Replacing, of course, Evan Etzebeth is no easy task, and he's done it with aplomb. So other than the lineouts, a couple of really good carries, a couple of phenomenal offloads, just along with Deon Fourie, Quokka Smith, Oxfordshire, I think that he was, for me, quite a stand-up performer. So I'm going to give Arceus an 8.
I don't know if you guys actually saw in the group chat. As soon as he came on and he got that, I think his first offload off, I literally was just like, if South Africa start offloading, England are done, because they cannot handle offloads. England can't handle it once the line's broken, and South Africa didn't even try it apart from that one.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, we hardly had the ball in hand most of the time.
Yeah, true.
But yeah. Okay, so where's Billy Vunipola and Quokka Smith?
Can we give negative points, please?
I thought Kel might want to jump in on this one. But yeah, I will start with Billy. I thought just largely ineffective, and as Carl said, when Tom Currie went off, his presence, his absence was noticeable because Billy was on the field, and
You mean large and ineffective, right?
Just doing the wrong thing. So I think Billy had just not a great day. So probably a 3 from me for Billy.
Well, that's kind.
Let's see what.
Yeah.
I love the commentary. So the commentator was literally like, he's just come on and he's just had a lapse in concentration. I'm just like, he's been on for 10 seconds. How do you have a lapse in concentration?
So
he was once your starting choice there.
So 2.9 there, and then looking at
Zach Mercer there.
Yeah. But moving on to Quagga then, again, impactful player off the bench, came on, made a difference. Not potentially as many steals. We didn't quite see as many penalties going his way, but just brought in energy, did the basics well. So I think for Quagga, probably a 7 or an 8. Again, not as Quagga in your face, but I'm tempted to give him an 8 because of the energy and the turning of the tide that he brought. But I thought, maybe a 7 or 8.
Maybe a 7 or 8. I think, look, I don't want to push you in that direction, but
I'm 7 because he had some strong runs, but not quite the go forward ball. We're used to seeing him stay on his feet. We didn't really see much turnover. I don't know if he poached the ball. So do you know what I mean? Like, he was part of that team that came on, yes, but I can't justify an 8 just for being associated with other people who did well. So 7.
Right. I think 7's probably fair. 8.4. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I think that's the shifted when the bench came on mentality.
Yeah. Look, he was part, and he was very good. He did inject a lot of energy along with Dion in that side and Archia. I personally would have gone with an 8, but it's reflective of a good performance all around in any event. I see Heinrich Kamenev. Apology if I mispronounced that. Quagga is a great impact to keep him on the bench. Yeah, it seems to be just where he lives now. It's just he truly is a specialist bench player at this point, and he does it so damn well.
And I think Ox is too. A lot of people are calling for him to start. I don't think you should start him. I think he's too good off the bench. Yeah,
it's possible. Maybe there is a shift towards that kind of mentality that there is no shame in being a bench player.
Yeah, especially in the front row, you're going to get the whole half.
Yeah, and acknowledging that your skill set lends itself to impacts in short bursts. Faf de Klerk and Danny Kerr. Again, Faf de Klerk comes on the back routes of Cobus Reinach not having his very best performance. And following on very shortly after Pollard was, well, not shortly, but he was brought in pretty early.
It was like third minute of the second half? Something like that.
And he seemed to combine, as he always does, very well with Andre Pollard. So in terms of his impact, how do you rate the experience that he brought to the field?
Yeah, I think for me it's the urgency, and that's a collective for the bench, as we spoke about. But the urgency that he brought on defense, and then just his guiding around the ruck. I think he was quite prompt in his delivery to Andre Pollard. So for me, I'm going to go 8 out of 10. Whereas Danny Kerr, when he came on, I think England lost a bit of that trick in the timing with the chases. He wasn't as accurate, perhaps, and everything was just getting frenetic. And I think for me, that would give him a 5.
Oof, I'm not sure I agree with that. I thought Danny Kerr was really good when he came on. Alex Mitchell wasn't. Alex Mitchell had a good game, but there were a few box kicks that went straight into the pitch.
Just look at the score that he got from the community.
Oh my God. You can tell that so many South Africans there.
I'm going to tell you that I'm going to agree with Roots on that one. I think that 5's a fair reflection of this impact of the bench. But regardless,
when Kerr came on.
Right now, the big one that you have all been waiting for, of course, other than
George Ford,
is look, I was expecting huge things for George Ford. It just didn't quite happen for him. But what a player. I would have loved to have seen him start if I was an English supporter. But it didn't happen for them. But Handré Pollard comes on, gets given the task, and as we predicted all throughout this World Cup, when we learned that he was going to be part of the squad, was that he would be there to complement, let's say, Marty Liebach when he wasn't doing his very best. And compliment him, he did. He came on and he took control like he's never left. Right? It was really a performance, crucial penalties. He ran that backline like clockwork. And what a pleasure it was to see him in that kind of form.
Yeah, no, phenomenal performance from Handré. And you check in the chat here, CJ Bruce is saying 11 for Handré, Key Buckley 9.5. Andre saying Pollard needs a bells and a 10. So no, I think he came on. Game management was excellent. His kicking was fantastic. I mean, to just take that pressure on, you know, that sort of monster kick, and he absolutely thumped it through the center. So yeah, for me, I think that was a 10 out of 10 performance from Pollard.
Gave me disgusting Morning Stain vibes. I'm so sick of your bloody 10s.
we just wish we had more of them. We only seem to have one or two that we could rely on at one time.
Yeah, because apparently you don't need more of them.
A solid 9.6 there for Handré Pollard. No surprise there from the community. Thank you, Handré. Thank you for your service. What a legend. Right, so Carl, Jane, George Ford.
Look, I think George Ford has been probably the best fly half that England have had for probably a decade now, and I feel bad for him. The fact that Farrell came back to normal. I'm like, yeah, but he's actually done really well in this World Cup. Why are you just taking him off? And the fact that Ford Farrell didn't work. Okay, so Farrell's at 10, Ford's at the bench. I'm like, oh, of course he is. And I did say in the chat, I bet you Borthwick's going to try 10-12 Ford Farrell, and tried it in the last 3 minutes of the game. I'm like, yeah, because that's going to win it for us. I really like Ford, but he had 3 minutes to not be able to get drop goal off. So not his fault for that in any way, but average. Yeah, you give him a 5 because he just didn't have any opportunity to do anything. Yeah,
4.9. So bang on there. I see a comment here from Chad Raygon. Now I think that's how you say it.
Are we sleeping on him?
Oak sleeping on a chair. Oak brought our scrum in line. I think you're gonna have to watch the show back, Chad, because we only had good things to say about Ox, and frankly, we've now learned that I think man of the match went to Handré Pollard. I think it was a hell of a tight call between Handré and Ox, and I think that it's simply because Handré was brought on earlier and had more time to influence the game that he probably got bombed because Ox was so immense. But anyway, as we move, of course, we've got our very last one. Rudes, I'll hand this one over to you. Ollie Lawrence and Billy LaRue.
Yeah, so just to touch on Handré Pollard quickly, I think on the back end of so much expectation of what he's done before, what people expect of him now, the weight on his shoulders that we put in terms of what he can deliver, and then ice in his veins, he hits that penalty. So just absolutely sensational from Handré Pollard. But coming to Willie LaRue, I think for the sake of the switch between him and Willemse, again, brought a little bit of stability to his ability to be in the right positions on the field. And then it was also perhaps not necessarily competing for the high ball, but when it was kicked, it was clear and he was in a position to counter or allow the ball to be recycled if he was tackled. So Willie LaRue for me gets an 8. And I think Cal mentioned earlier on Ollie Lawrence coming off the bench. He was quite nimble in his carries and post-contact. Really, he was able to cause us quite a bit of trouble. So I'm going to give him a 7 on that basis. I'm being a little bit generous, but I don't want to disrespect England because they really showed up today for the most part, and it was the last 12, 13 minutes that we really came through with this bench. So yeah, 7 for me for Ollie Lawrence.
Okay. We see Annette Kolb says Willie is 6, Ollie a 2. So yeah, looks like Roots disagrees with you, Annette, but that's
Christ, what's the actual kind of poll
we
gonna be then?
are all entitled to our own opinion. But I'm sure Ollie Lawrence is not going to lose too much sleep over that on his.
Am I the only person who thought Willie LaRue was average?
I tend to agree.
I thought he came on and I was like, you're not helping matters, to be honest.
Yeah, I was a bit concerned. There was obviously the one decision to launch that cross kick when we actually had an opportunity to run the ball for once.
Yeah, and you had advantage. Yeah,
a standout moment for me. Yeah, I tend to agree, but Roots has gone with an 8, and I can see it, but I personally probably would have gone a little bit lower than that. Yeah, I think 7 was probably about the right call down the middle there. Ollie Lawrence, you had said the Roots a 7.
7.
And a 4.4.
Jesus Christ.
Okay,
one of the best things about this is, though, that the chat's been saying South Africa were absolutely horrendous, but we found a way to win, and yet the whole backline's got better scores than England. So, okay, well, fair enough. But, okay, so we end off that part of the show quickly, and then we will have a very quick wrap-up. Thank you so much for those ratings, guys. They're absolutely amazing. Please do go check out the site. You'll find the link in the description, and you can play along with us after every game and go do a rating. One question that I do want to answer here, I thought was quite an interesting one, and one I'd love to answer. It says, from SG, says, why analysts say they need LaRue with Andre? I always hear people say it, but I don't know why. I don't think I have said it myself, but I think it's quite an interesting question to ask. And I suppose that it's because Andre is perhaps, although I don't agree with it, but the sentiment seems to be he doesn't have quite that game-breaking ability or creativity like Amani Nebok does. And Willie LaRue, obviously, just by his stats alone, tells you that the man is a try-assist machine. His creativity is quite phenomenal. So I think the two of them kind of complement each other in that way. Does that make sense? I think Roots or Wes, if you two, would you agree with that? Roots or Wes? No?
Yeah, but put it to one of us. So I think there's always the confusion there. I think, I think maybe that familiarity as well. I think early in the World Cup, we spoke about combinations, and how potentially you don't start your best 15 individual players. You have a look at which combinations work well together. And I do think the pairing between, your Lebok and your Willemse works very nicely. And likewise, I think Andre and LaRue works well as well. So I think it's just a combination thing. They've played a lot with one another. And I do agree with your point about Willie sort of getting more involved and being a try assister, whereas Pollard's more just, that sort of traditional, not unimaginative, like just knows his job and does his job very well. Okay, 100%. Now, look, guys, of course, we end off the show by just reminding everyone that this was an incredible game of rugby. It was certainly not the Springboks' best performance. It actually wasn't even England's best performance, but it was a much better performance. And we are joined by Stevie P, who has relaxed after his watch along, and is casually just decided to pop into the show. I don't think he wants to cut us. I think he wants to has something to say.
No, lads, listen. We need to talk about tonight, and Carl, I just wanted to say commiserations and all the best. But lads, we're going back to back. That's what I'm here. That's what I'm here to say. I've gotten the gospel. I'm here to spread the gospel. Going back to back. We're moving our chat.
Back to back, 100%. CJ Bruce says too early to have a beer, Steve. He's probably right. It is already Sunday morning, so
5 o'clock somewhere.
Well, I actually saw a video today that apparently it's actually better for you to drink in the morning than it is in the evening, because apparently drinking in the evening disrupts your sleep. So apparently if you drink in the morning, it's actually better for you. So I'm just getting a head start already.
It also gives you a time to
100%. Steve, why don't you wrap up the show for us? Tell us what you thought. Now that you've had time to kind of settle, listen to the experts over here on this review panel,
First of all, it's some wild chat on here, by the way. It's so many so big ups to the buggers because it's been a very fun watch. I think the biggest thing is spending the last hour just kind of calming down, listening to reading things on Twitter and stuff like that. It's an interesting one because it's a bit like last week where a lot of people will sit there and say that South Africa did not play the better game and that the Boks weren't the better team, which is probably pretty true, to be fair. I think for a lot of it we chased the game for 77 minutes. But I think the biggest thing is that the weird thing is that coming into the World Cup, when we had won games, we genuinely had, because we started pretty well, we put teams kind of away type thing, and we kind of built on that. And we had certain games we come from behind. But the last sort of month to 6 weeks, basically since that All Blacks game, it was a case of us starting well, building leads, and then sort of being able to see it off. The last two games, for me, it's felt like a little bit of a throwback to 2021, a little bit, that sort of post-World Cup where we just didn't start particularly well. But what this team does so well is it stays in the fight. And for whatever we had a pretty dreadful first half, we were never out of the game. And we know that, our bomb squad, I think it's been very interesting because our bomb squad is no longer a split thing. It's just the impact of the bench. That's what it is. They've earned that title. It's purely out of the impact they have. And once again, we saw that if we're in the fight with 20 minutes to go, with 10 minutes to go, Alke Snyman, Oxenchair, Kwagga Smith, Deon Fourie, Vincent Koch, Faf, 100 tonight. We've got players who can affect change and can win the game. So I think it was an absolute masterclass from England. They performed at a level that they had no right to perform at. They should never have been in the game as much as they were. They just shouldn't have. On paper, they've got good players. But, I mean, this is a team that lost to Fiji in August and Twickenham. It's a team that's got a new coach that's been with them with less than a year. People were saying they had no right to be in the semi-final. They had no right to be leading the game until 68 minutes or 77 minutes, and yet they were because they executed a masterclass. I think this is a bit of an early warning shot for the Six Nations because I think they'll only get better. But once again, it shows you experience for the Boks. Deon Fourie, 38 years old, oldest player at the World Cup. Performance he puts on,
Apparently also the fastest.
Everything. Running around. Yeah, experienced everything. And this is what the Boks do. They so got pressure and there is an ever say die attitude, which I don't think we've ever seen. I would go beyond to say this is the best Boks side I've ever watched. I've never seen a Boks side where we just never out of it.
100%. And look, obviously, we look ahead to New Zealand and we will have a full discussion about that in our fan forum and during the course of the week, because that's what we do. We're going to sit down on Thursday and we are going to talk about what we're going to expect from New Zealand, because honestly, there's just not enough time to do it right now. There's just no way we can get through everything that we need to say. And to think about New Zealand after a performance like that is a bit daunting, to be very honest. The truth is that there are going to be a lot of concerns when we have a chat about this on Thursday evening, and what to expect from a New Zealand side who looks like they have hit their straps at exactly the right time. It is one for the ages. It is one that we are all looking forward to. We cannot wait. Thank you so much all for joining us out here tonight. We did do our biggest watch-along ever. Is that correct, Stevie? Some 400
So a big shout out to people because, it was our biggest watch-along ever. It has gone past 450,000 views. So in a week's time, we could be hitting that 500,000 with next weekend. We are past 57,000 subscribers, which is phenomenal. And this show itself is about to go past 50,000 views. So it's been an incredible day. Awesome. So shout out so many new people on the show. Shout out to you guys. Great show. It's been absolute scenes from start to finish. It's just been mental.
It has been mental, guys. So please do leave a like and subscribe. And a big thank you to, of course, our sponsors who make this thing happen in BOYLESPORTS and BITDEFENDER, and to my panel. You guys are amazing every single time. And so we are so blessed and lucky to be able to do this. Guys, have a fantastic night. You are all legends, and thank you so much for all the comments. Again, we always try to get to as many of them as we can, but none of this is possible without your support. So from all of us here at Forever Sports and Forever Rugby, enjoy your Sunday, and we will see you all again very, very soon. Cheers for now.
Come on, boys!